called or chosen by God to be the people through whom all nations would be blessed. Israel was chosen to bless others. In the Christian scriptures, the same language is used to describe the church, which is why William Temple, a former Archbishop of Canterbury, could say that the church is the only organisation that exists solely for the benefit of its non-members. Well, I love that quote. However, I am sure the same could be said of this place. Surely the existence of Trafford Council is to benefit those who are not sitting here this evening. You are here not to be served, but to serve. In the Bible, the word used to describe God's choice of Israel and the church to be those who bless others through active service is election. Well, we've just had one of those, and the people of Trafford have chosen you to be those who they believe will serve the common good. So may I encourage you to live up to your election and follow the example of our King and the one whom he seeks to follow. So once again, I offer you all my congratulations on all your hard work to get here. Now the real work begins. Amen.
Thank you, Richard, for those very wise words. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Jed Carter and Cordingley. Can I ask if anyone is aware of any other apologies?
Jill Axford.
Jill Axford. Sorry, Councillor Brophy, was that?
Correct.
Yeah. Someone behind you, was that the same apology? Yeah. Sorry.
Councillor New.
Councillor New. Any further apologies? Sorry.
Councillor Barber is on his way.
Councillor, sorry, is...
Councillor Bilal Barber is on his way.
Bilal Barber is on his way, probably from work, I imagine. Thank you very much. Finally, any other before we do move to the first item, the next item on the agenda? The agenda item is, the first business of the meeting is the election of the Mayor, and Councillor Acton will move the motion. Thank you, Councillor Acton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's with great pleasure and a real honour to be able to move my colleague and friend Dolores O'Sullivan to be our Mayor for the new municipal year. As some of you know, Dolores is a proud Irish woman and was the youngest, probably people wouldn't know, was the youngest of 8 children in her family. She was brought up in Kerry on a farm in a small, close-knit community, and through good and bad times, the community supported each other, and that was a really important thing for Dolores. Clearly, her upbringing shaped her deep commitment of community and looking out for each other and making sure the well-being of the neighbourhood was looked after. Dolores moved to England at the age of 20 and lived in Old Trafford. I don't know where that is, but she joined other members of her family. Her family ran a business in Manchester where Dolores started as a telephonist and over time worked her way up to the top, doing all sorts of different jobs in between. I suppose the youngest of 8 children, you have to have a strong character to work your way up. Anyway, I did ask Dolores, what have you done to relax when not working? And she said, I love dancing and was quite good at it. So I said, well, would you like to apply to be on Strictly when she finishes her mayoral year? Not likely, she said. Strictly judges and the public are not ready for my kind of dancing. And I would actually love you to demonstrate it for her tonight. She also had a go at flying lessons. Now, I don't know how that went, but I hope the flying was better than the driving. But flying is probably sums up Dolores the way that she has lived her life. She's a high flyer. She sometimes hits turbulence and occasionally has crash landings, but nothing seems to faze her. As she learnt in her younger days, she believes in the power of community and the importance of working together to create a brighter future for all. And I would say Dolores has a strong record of service and leadership, and I have no doubt that she will bring that same dedication and hard work to the role as mayor. She's a fierce advocate for the needs of our community, and she will be tireless in ensuring that voices of all our communities are heard. She really believes in that. Finally, I have no doubt that under Dolores' term of office, Trafford will continue to thrive and flourish. I therefore ask members to support Councillor O'Sullivan to be our next mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Acton. Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you. Conservative Group of Trafford are pleased to second Councillor Dolores O'Sullivan on to become Mayor of Trafford. Having personally been very active in Chris Boyce's fundraising activities in his mayoral year, I now grasp the hours of commitment required to undertake such an important role. I won't dwell on the joys of collecting on Altrincham High Street with a QR code and a yellow bucket in hand. I think that Chris must have been called upon to do more ceremonial duties than the Mayor for many years, with the passing of Her Majesty, a proclamation, a by-election in Stretford-Urmston, finishing on a high with uplifting coronation. Dolores, you may have your work cut out if this continues. Dolores, you have done so much work with the community groups in Trafford that the role of Mayor of Trafford should come easily to you. You will no doubt be as good at the roles as you have been as popular and hard-working community-focused councillor. I took the time earlier to message Andrew Weston for a few tidbits about you, and he came back with a response that I consider to be wonderful accolade. He said, among other things, that Dolores is great at, she is always a fantastic supporter of our older residents, taking time to visit them regularly. Common theme here, there was also a comment about driving, but I think I will leave that one out. And unfortunately for us, Dolores is an enthusiastic canvasser. Well, tonight, Dolores, you'll have our vote. So may you and the mayoral consort, Joan Smith, have a wonderful year, and please count on the Conservative support with your community work, fundraising and events. We're very happy to second Dolores for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Is the motion supported?
Yes, Mr Mayor. It's a privilege to be able to offer the support of the Liberal Democrat group to Councillor Dolores O'Sullivan as she receives the nomination for our mayor this year. And I want to start my contribution just by restating Councillor Brophy's apologies, because it's me on my feet this evening, but this is very much Jane's tribute to you. Because I know as our most experienced and longest serving Liberal Democrat councillor, she's deeply disappointed that she cannot be here herself this evening, especially as she supported you last year to become deputy. Picture the scene. It's spring 2014. The intrepid Councillor Jane Brophy is pounding the streets of Trafford collecting nomination signatures for the Liberal Democrat candidates in the forthcoming local elections. As she approaches one house, she knocks on the door and starts the usual patter. My name's Councillor Jane Brophy. I'm from Trafford Liberal Democrats. I'm just wondering, would you be so kind as to support the nomination of our candidate this year? But then the reply comes, no, I don't think so, Jane. I'm actually the Labour councillor. Councillor Brophy looks up from the bright yellow clipboard to find Councillor Dolores O'Sullivan looking kindly back at her. Councillor O'Sullivan, you offered a very polite no thank you to the Liberal Democrat on your doorstep that day, but perhaps other members may have been more direct. Nevertheless, we thank you for your mercy on that occasion, and we know we will have no need to call on it again whilst you're in the chair. The role of the Mayor is not just to chair council meetings, though, it is to be an ambassador for Trafford. And Councillor O'Sullivan, you are supremely qualified for that role as a veteran school governor with 20 years' experience serving 3 of our excellent schools. You are also someone who champions mental health and wellbeing, having worked with Mind and other mental health charities. You're an experienced counsellor in the other sense of the word, supporting people with their mental health, and this is something that our society needs more of, and it's reflected throughout your record of public service. Councillor O'Sullivan has chosen 2 charities to support this year. The first, the Little Green Sock Project, is a wonderful Trafford-based charity. And with a third of children in Greater Manchester living in poverty, some 11,000 of them here in Trafford, the project aims to ease the financial burden that faces too many families in our borough. By reusing and gifting children's clothing, Little Green Sock really are making a positive impact in people's lives. Providing clothing, which is a basic need, but helping the environment too by cutting down on waste. The second charity Madam Mayor has chosen is Doctors Without Borders, and we see the need of their excellent work in our news feeds every day. And not just because of the war in Ukraine, but because of the 71 other countries that Doctors Without Borders offer support to, because of the thousands of pregnant women supported in Yemen, the tens of thousands of vaccines provided in Syria, the Congolese children supported with food and with medicine. These are excellent charities. So congratulations to you on this proud day, and the Liberal Democrats wish you all the very best in your year as our Mayor. We are proud to support your nomination.
Thank you, Councillor. Is the motion further supported?
Thanks, Chair. The Green Party also is more than happy to support Councillor Dolores O'Sullivan in her year as Mayor over the next year. Dolores was elected in 2010 and served on the council since that time. Dolores will have seen lots of cost-cutting, reshaping of lots of changes in that time. But Dolores will be in a great position to understand and celebrate the residents of this borough over the next year. Hailing from County Kerry, Dolores may recognise this Irish motto, and I've had some training from Geraldine, so I'm going to give it a go. Cor, Cower, Cordius, which translates into English to cooperation, help and friendship. These are principles that will serve our new Mayor well, not only in this chamber, but also when out meeting the many communities and peoples across Trafford. It was when Dolores was 20 that she set sail on the wild Atlantic waves and landed on these shores. But Dolores has carved out a professional career in construction and engineering, working in the public and private sector. In the council, she has played a strategic role in the Stretford Town Partnership, which will hopefully see its transformation over the coming years. Dolores has chosen charities for her mayoral year, in particular Little Green Sock Project, a charity that recycles, reuses and gives clothing and toys to the local communities and to those that may be struggling to afford them. It also is a champion of the circular economy, as we are too. So we're really glad that you've chosen that local Trafford charity. And Dolores will also be supporting Médecins Sans Frontières, providing medical help to people around the world that most need it. Dolores is also joined by consort Joan Smith, who has survived cancer, but used it as a platform to help others through community engagement and charity events. We'd also love to see the mobile disco making an appearance in Altrincham, which is used to fundraise across the borough. And I'm sure even Councillor Weltham will get his guitar out and join forces. But the Green Party just wanted to welcome you both to your new roles, to wish you every success, and we will endeavour to support whenever we can. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jerome. The motion is that Councillor Dolores O'Sullivan be and is hereby elected Mayor of the Borough of Trafford for the forthcoming municipal year. All those in favour? Aye. We will now retire for our new Mayor to be dressed in the mayoral robes and chains of office.
Reverend Father, fellow members, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for sharing this special evening with me. Where to start? It will come as no surprise when I tell you I was born in Ireland. The name and the slight accent may have already given it away. I was born near the beautiful lakes of Killarney in a town called Kenmare. I came from a family of 8 children. Our family were self-sufficient as butchers, bakers, and fish from the local river. There was little waste in our home. Surplus food was pickled and preserved, as there was no fridges in those days. This was where my education began. I learned to work hard, play my part, and waste nothing. I also learned to share and care for others. Many travellers came to our door and were never sent away hungry. We were not extravagant. In fact, I remember my brother Bernie getting into trouble for bringing 2 salmon home from fishing when we only needed 1. We shared with our neighbours and they shared with us. That there was a great sense of community spirit. This indeed left me with a lasting impression, and probably on reflection set my political path. For this I thank my parents, especially my mother, who was a great cook, mender and maker, and source of inspiration to me. I would like to think my parents are looking down on me tonight and feeling just as proud as I am. My brother Bernie was first to cross the water to England, and over the years, a number of my siblings followed, including my parents and myself at the ripe old age of 20. As we'd been taught to share and look after each other, my brother kindly shared his office work with me. and this continued until he sold the business in 2005. Trafford became my first home and has been for most of my adult life. Trafford, like Kenmare, has given me so much. My children were educated here, and they in turn gave me 3 beautiful grandchildren. The people of Stretford gave me my first chance to serve as a councillor when they elected me in 2010. Due to boundary changes, I now live in Flixton Ward, and I'm very grateful to the people who supported me as their councillor for the 2nd time. I've also been proud to serve in the community as a registrar at our local parish church, and also as a governor at Our Lady of the Rosary, Urmston Junior School, and St Margaret Ward. There is so much I have been given already by so many, all whom I need to thank. The support of Chris Boyes, our outgoing mayor, who has been brilliant. Father Kieran Malarkey of St John Henry Newman Parish, who has agreed to be my chaplain. Natalie, Michelle and Matthew, and officers for their support so far. And I hope they will continue to help me in the coming year. My thanks to the group leaders for the kind words and support of me tonight. Also, Andy Weston MP and my own group, who have given me the chance to serve as mayor for the coming year. But last but by no means least, Jo, my consort, for the help and support she has done. I would like to mention my charities, which are Little Green Sock, Trafford Domestic Abuse, and Doctors Without Borders, which I hope you will agree are great charities and worthy of our support. As you can imagine, for me, this year will be like no other. It is an immense honour. I am so looking forward to meeting many community groups and businesses that make Trafford one of the best boroughs in the country. Meeting the amazing volunteers of the friends groups that make Trafford a greener, cleaner borough, and the many, many people who care and share their time and help to improve this amazing borough. Madam Deputy Mayor and Consort, I hope you have an enjoyable year. And if I can be of any help, as Chris has helped me, it will be my pleasure. As JFK said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I will do my best to fulfill my role as Mayor of Trafford. Thank you. The next item of business is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Amy White. Councillor Ross will move the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. And may I be the first to congratulate you and welcome you to your much-deserved role. As has become a custom to me, I hope you find it as every bit as fulfilling, as enriching as my mayoral year was a few years ago. I know you will do the borough proud. And it is with great pleasure that I propose the motion that Councillor Amy White be appointed as our Deputy Mayor for the municipal year ahead. And I look forward to saying maybe a little bit more in 12 months' time.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor. Congratulations to yourself again, and we're, as a Conservative group, happy to second the motion.
Is the motion supported by the Green Party?
Thank you, Chair. The Green Party fully supports Councillor White as Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Is the motion supported by the Lib Dem Party?
It is, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The motion is that Councillor Amy White be and hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Borough of Trafford for the ensuing municipal year. Please, would Councillor, all those in favour? Please, would Councillor White come up to receive the chain and badge of office? Sorry, photographs. Thank you. Right. I wish to announce that Mrs. Joan Smith will act as my consort for the ensuing year. The retiring Mayoress will now invest my consort with the chain and badge of office. I now invite the Deputy Mayor to appoint her Deputy Consort for the ensuing year.
I wish to announce that Sarah Hooks will act as my Deputy Consort during the ensuing year.
I now call on Councillor Wetton to move a vote of thanks to the retiring Mayor and Mayoress.
Madam Mayor, may I too congratulate you on taking up your new position. Now, though, it gives me great pleasure to propose the vote of thanks to outgoing Mayor, my friend Chris Boyes. A year ago in this chamber, seeing Chris enrobed in mayoral regalia gave the firm impression that here was a person very much suited to being the mayor, the first citizen of our borough. And he has proved that first impression through the year, every day that he's been our mayor. That day, few of us could have envisaged that the mayoral year would be quite so dramatic and even historic. So we thank Chris very much indeed for what followed, because fate delivered into his capable hands the role of being mayor at a time of the passing of the monarch. For the first time in Trafford's history, Trafford's mayor proclaimed from the steps of the town hall the accession of a new monarch, carrying on the method used over centuries to spread the word of such news. And we all admired the way that Chris carried that off that day. Much to his delight, I'm sure, Chris Boyes was soon to meet King Charles III in person. What greater honour can a mayor have than to welcome the monarch to Trafford Borough? Well, perhaps a greater honour personally for Chris may be that he was named in the court circular covering that visit. He is recorded for posterity with these words from the palace's court circular. The King afterwards visited Kellogg's factory, Trafford Park, to mark the company's centenary in the United Kingdom, and was received by the managing director, the plant director, and the Mayor of Trafford, Mr. Chris Boyes. That alone must be so rewarding for you, Chris. Chris's year was busy, of course. He is always a busy man. Those of us who know him know that you have to work hard to pin him down. His engagements as mayor included a moving service of dedication for the garden for grieving parents, where those people can now go to remember loved ones. He attended a memorial service for the fallen of the Falklands War. He was present for the unveiling of a memorial to a bomber crew lost just down the road from here at Walton Park. And very much an issue of our times, there was also an event which was a welcoming of citizens of Ukraine coming to Trafford to safety to be hosted by Trafford residents. The Trafford International Women's Day Awards event was opened by Chris as mayor. Indeed, he was pleased and happy to appear where Trafford residents asked him to appear, and we thank him for all of that wonderful work. I won't try to list more of the engagements, of which there were so many, but looking at a list, we do get to note the calibre of them and the importance of them to Trafford and its residents. So much goodness, so much kindness, so much thoughtfulness. Of course, every mayor raises money for charity, but I get the impression that Chris pushed harder with that aim than most. I don't know how much he raised. I think they're still counting. I'm sure it's a significant sum. But there will be some good causes happily sending thank you letters to him, and for that we thank him too. By his side, Chris's wife Pam fulfilled the role of mayoress with the aplomb we would anticipate from this double act, and the council's sincere thanks go to her too. I genuinely hope Chris and Pam enjoyed their spectacular year. I'm absolutely certain they did. And I'm certain too that it's a year that local historians will be recording for a great many reasons. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pam. You can sit back now and relax. Madam Mayor, I have great pleasure in proposing this vote of thanks.
Is the vote seconded?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have pleasure to rise on behalf of the Labour Group to support the vote of thanks. And I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate you on your appointment. Terrible feedback we're getting. Yeah, Chris and Pam have been outstanding mayor and mayoress throughout the year. We used to be, our mayor and mayoress is actually being very good. Though, casting my mind back over 50 years, there have been one or two, though I'm exempt from that, but not recently. But I won't go into past history of one or two people. But Chris and Pam have really been exceptional. Councillor Wettons outlined some of the major events. Is that working? Yes. Pam, I've outlined some of the major events, the momentous events, including the coronation and the declaration, but also the more smaller events where they've been very assiduous in attending throughout the year. And I know it's it's quite a serious and time-consuming job at being mayor. It's not a light undertaking. But if I could just speak from a personal point of view, the mayor and mayoress are very keen to attend various events during Sale Festival, which is in June, and tickets are available for this year's performance. But they were very keen to attend, and I didn't know before that, but the mayor's a very big fan of Dolly Parton. I'm not sure she's a fan of him, but she's a big fan of Dolly Parton. And we had, last year, we had a Dolly Parton tribute act, and the mayor was very keen to come along. Unfortunately, the Dolly Parton tribute act stuck too closely to Dolly's song 9 till 5, and because this was at 8 o'clock, she forgot and didn't turn up. So, so the mayor was there in all his regalia, and the chair of the festival committee was rather embarrassed, but the mayor put him at ease, really, and some of us who stayed in the bar had quite a good time, actually, despite the non-appearance of Dolly Parton. But the mayor's really, if I could just mention another of Dolly's song, really, is that, well, I'll mention first that obviously the mayor's going to be have more time on his hands, let's say. It's the elephant in the room is he's going to have more time on his hands than he had previously. But he's a very, very expert and keen photographer. I'm sure he'll be anxious to carry that. And he plays golf. I'm not quite sure how expertly he plays golf, but he'll have more time to playing golf. And after all those events, I'm sure we can rely on Pam to find him something else to do if he gets bored, because there's plenty of things to do now. But so just to close, Madam Mayor, that I just one of other Dolly's songs, not less known. It's a sort of hymn, I think. It's "When the roll is called up yonder, you'll be there." Now, in this case, yonder, I mean, on the walls outside here, you'll be there on the list of mayors and mayoresses. So we do thank you. Councillor Boyce or Mr Boyce and Pam for your service during the last 12 months. I know it's never easy being the mayor, and it's never easy. Though I think the councillor went and hinted. You were at one event where somebody said to me, he looks like the mayor. And I think that's true, really. So congratulations for all your work during the year, and have a good retirement. Thank you.
Is the vote supported?
The vote is supported, Madam Mayor. Would I have a chance to speak?
Yes.
No. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to express the Liberal Democrats' thanks and appreciation of Chris and Pam's time in office. A notable busy year as the first citizen of Trafford, attending an impressive 260 official engagements across the borough, Greater Manchester and further afield, representing us while supporting the diverse communities of Trafford. Notably, amongst all of these, and one that had a deep historic meaning for us all, was the accession proclamation in its town hall at the steps of Trafford, one that I felt very honoured to attend and witness. Personally, I would like to extend thanks to former Mayor Boyce for his attendance at Altrincham Festival, the largest free show in Trafford, and Timpley Country Fair also, both of which were warmly welcome and enjoyed by our residents. I cannot fail to mention in these thanks the three worthy charities that have benefited from his considerable fundraising activities, namely Parkinson's UK, the Royal Children's Hospital and the Children's Air Ambulance, laudable beneficiaries, one and all. Perhaps I can add my personal admiration to the former councillor that possibly seeing that the way that his time of office was coming to an end made that last email to us all raising unfinished safety improvements to Norris Road, the mark of a dedicated councillor serving his community every step of the way. We wish Chris and Pam well in all the future endeavours and hope that that now you have time to afford those and enjoy them. Thank you.
Is the vote supported by the Conservative Party? Right. Is the vote supported by the Green Party?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we're delighted to support the motion of thanks. The Green Party just wanted to say a big thank you to you for your great efforts as Mayor this year, and also to the support you've had from Pam too. You've done an incredible job in terms of raising the profile and raising money for your chosen charities. I only wish I could have attended more of those events. I've also been impressed by the manner in which you've conducted business in the Chamber, reaching out to group leaders, trying to streamline debate and successfully moving on items within the given time. Not an easy feat at all, but you've done it with style and aplomb. I'd also like to say a big thank you to you from the Green Party. We have enjoyed your hospitality at full council meetings afterwards, a chance to get to know fellow councillors and continue debates in a more friendly and convivial setting with your hospitality showing through. So we just wanted to say well done and good luck for the future to both you and Pam. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The motion is the Council hereby place on record their appreciation for the manner in which Mr Chris Boyce has carried out his duties as Mayor of the Borough of Trafford during his period of office. To tender unto him and his best wishes in that connection. They also expressed their gratitude to Mrs Pamela Boyce for the manner in which she has acted as Mayoress. All those in favour? Aye. I will ask my consort to present the retiring Mayoress with a replica of badge of office. I now call upon the retiring Mayor, Mr Chris Boyce, to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I viewed last year's video of the annual council and noted that, in fact, Councillor Walsh sat down, but I intend to stand to make this presentation. So here we are again, and time for another of my lists. And just as last year, to begin with, there are many thank yous. First, to those who have spoken such kind words about myself and the Mayoress, who I can assure you have thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to serve this wonderful borough. Then, thanks to every single council member and officer for the totally courteous manner in which the Mayoress and I have been received, and the help which they have been so willing to give us. To everyone in the community, especially those who work tirelessly as volunteers, those who have greeted us whenever and wherever we have visited, and of course to the mayors, mayoresses and consorts, the chain gang of the other 9 boroughs in Greater Manchester, and of course our 4, during the year, MPs. Every year of our lives is unique, as is every mayoral year. However, I would suggest there will never be another quite like ours. Over 275 engagements, plus another 35, which for various reasons we were unable to fulfil, and these were often undertaken by the Deputy Mayor. Those visits included around 30 with school pupils, 10 with the uniformed organisations, around 20 visits to care homes, and close to 60 engagements which involved music of every possible genre. The Mayoral Handbook encourages support for events representing the ethnic diversity of the borough, and Hindu festivals, Chinese celebrations, and Afro-Caribbean events produce some of the most colourful and joyous scenes I have ever witnessed. My appeal for worthy residents to be invited to the civic reception produced representatives from a wide spread of community supporting organisations, and we were able to treat them to by far the best meal of the year, easily surpassing that of any of the other boroughs. We all knew there was to be a Platinum Jubilee, and the beacon lighting ceremony in Partington was early in the calendar. Who could have foretold what was to follow? The passing of Queen Elizabeth brought about ceremonies which had not been seen in the whole history of the borough. Proclamations in Manchester and at Trafford Town Hall, and memorial services both at the Cathedral and at St Paul's in Sale, all arranged at little more than a couple of days' notice. Meanwhile, normal duties continued, including some truly meaningful events in the form of citizenship ceremonies, for whom those taking part are the culmination of a lengthy process by which they gain British nationality. It is not every mayor who acts as a parliamentary election returning officer. However, a resignation in GM cascaded down to mean there was, in December, a parliamentary by-election, which saw our council leader whisked away to Westminster. It is also not every mayor who has the privilege of welcoming a royal visitor. So in January, the coded email RVKC, Royal Visit King Charles, provided the highlight of the year in the form of the visit to Kellogg's of the King, somebody that I have always wished to meet, especially as he is in my school year, or vice versa. Then another coded email in March, RVPR, meant that it was down to me to greet the Princess Royal on her visit to Coronation Street, And finally, just like those queuing buses, came a message that the Duchess of Edinburgh was to visit Halle St Peter's. 3 royal visits and still a coronation to come, with the borough offering a celebration event at Sale Waterside. Oh, and we work with 2 separate Lord Lieutenants and numerous deputies, in addition to the normal 2 High Sheriffs and, of course, the GM Mayor, Andy Burnham. My charities have benefited from the support of my charity committee, who arranged the Lord Digby Jones luncheon, the sports dinner with Sammy McElroy, a fabulous fashion evening, a St George's night, and most recently a dinner at Trafford College's Aspire restaurant. I know the Trafford branch of Parkinson's UK, the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, and the Children's Air Ambulance are immensely grateful for the support we have been able to give them. I must also thank my chaplains, both Reverend Johnny Hill and Reverend Richard Sherritt, not only for words at council, but also for leading the celebration of Christmas at St John's and the Civic Sunday at Ashton-on-Mersey United Reformed Church. All in all, a quite remarkable, unforgettable year. But for once, as predicted last May, made even more enjoyable by Natalie's admin support and Matthew's unstinting skills at both navigation and punctuality. In closing, may I take this opportunity on behalf of Pam and myself to wish our Mayor and her consort all the very best for what we hope will for them also be a truly memorable year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyes. That then concludes the installation part of the meeting. If they now prefer, I will ask the Deputy Consort, my chaplain and our guests to retire to the Committee Room 5 while we proceed with the business part of the meeting. Please could I ask members to take their seats. Thank you all for your patience so far, and we now continue with the business part of the meeting. Item 4. The next item of minutes, I will move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of March 2022 be taken as read and signed as a correct record. Is that seconded?
Seconded, Mayor.
All those in favour? Item 5, election results. Noting the results of the recent election, may I welcome Councillor Babar, Baskerville, Chakrabarty, Deacon, Ecclesley, Hurst, Lepori, Parker, Paul, Spencer, Sutton and Taylor for their first council meeting, and welcome back Mike Connolly and Nathan Evans, who rejoins us in the chamber. Congratulations to you all and other members who were successfully re-elected. The terms of office for everyone elected are set out in the report, and I ask the Council to note this. Item 6. Firstly, the Council is requested to appoint a leader of the Council, and I'm aware that the nomination for Councillor Tom Ross. Is that seconded, please?
Thank you, Mayor, and I would like to second this proposal. And before I do, I'd like to add my congratulations to you. I am delighted to see you in the role, and I think you will make a fantastic Mayor. I'm also delighted to second Councillor Tom Ross as leader of the Council. I think his record in public office and his leadership of the Council to date have demonstrated that he has a real commitment to the people of Trafford, and particularly our most vulnerable residents, our children and young people. And I think Tom Ross will continue to lead the borough with the utmost integrity, and I second the motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. May I ask Councillor Ross' nomination is approved by the Council? Thank you. Councillor Tom Ross is appointed leader of the Council until the expiry of his term of office as Councillor in 2023. I now turn to the leader of the Council and invite Councillor Ross to appoint his deputy and members of his executive.
Thank you, Mayor. I am delighted that Councillor Kath Hines is continuing as Deputy Leader of the Council. We can ask for no better deputy and no better support to me than Kath, particularly over my first few months as leader of this borough. I'm also delighted to announce my new executive for the municipal year, and I'd ask that colleagues note the names of the executive and also the reshaped portfolios for the executive, which reflect our priorities as an administration for the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. The Council is asked to note the executive appointments and the membership of the shadow executive that has also been circulated around the chamber. Can they be noted, please? Item 7 is the appointment of the Council Committee, and I invite the leader of the Council to move the recommendations for the proposed committee structure and the membership of the 2023-2024 municipal year.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move recommendations 1 to 8 as set out in the paper.
Is that seconded?
It is seconded. Thank you, Mayor.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is that agreed? Item 8. May I ask the leader to move that the outside body nominations made by the Council be agreed as set out in the report schedule, and for him to appoint those bodies which relate to the executive functions. Can I have a seconder, please, for the Council appointments? Right, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move recommendations 1 to 4 in the report.
Can I have a seconder, please, for the Council appointments?
Yes, that is seconded. Thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? Thank you. Item 9. Next on the agenda, item 9, and the Council is requested to agree that the calendar of the Council and Committee meetings for 2023-24. I now ask the Leader of the Council to move this item.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move the committee timetable for the year ahead.
Is that seconded, please?
Yes, and I am happy to second that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 10, delegation and urgent action. Please can I ask the Council to approve the committee arrangements for dealing with the delegated decision and the urgent action set out on the Council summonses. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 11, delegation of functions and amendments to the Constitution. Council is asked to confirm the arrangements for the delegation of council and executive functions and to consider alterations of the Constitution following the annual review by the monitoring officer. Please can the Leader of the Council move that the executive and officer scheme of delegation be confirmed as set out in the report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move recommendations 1 to 4 in the report.
Is that seconded?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 12. The next report this evening details the executive key decisions over the past year which were taken under the special urgency provisions and is for the Council to note. Can I ask therefore for this to be noted? Thank you. Item 13. Please can I ask the Leader of the Council to move the proposal set out in the report regarding the protocol to be followed before and at the Council meetings when amendments to a motion is proposed.
Thank you, Mayor. I am happy to move the the proposals in this report.
Is that seconded, please?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Does any members wish to speak on this report? Councillor wishing to speak? The report has been moved and seconded. Can it be agreed, please?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 14, members' allowances. The final item concerns recommendations of the Independent Remuneration Panel for the level of allowances paid to members. Please can the Leader of the Council introduce this matter and propose a motion for the Council to determine. Councillor Rowan.
Thank you, Mayor. Returning members will recall that earlier this calendar year, an independent remuneration panel was convened to look at our current allowances scheme and review it. The independent remuneration panel was made up of 3 people, including 1 connected to Trafford College and 1 local resident. Their details are set out in the report. The IRP heard cross-party representations, again set out in the report, and also received feedback from council officers. The IRP compared our existing scheme with other schemes in Greater Manchester, and the IRP, as a result of that, provided a series of recommendations to bring our scheme more in line with other schemes operating across Greater Manchester, which I welcome. The report asks the Council to consider recommendations 1 to 3 in the report. I am happy to remove this report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please?
Yes, it is seconded. Thank you, Mayor. I am happy to second this report, which I do think contains some sensible and reasoned recommendations for us to consider this evening. As Councillor Ross has said, this will bring Trafford's allowances closer to those of other GM local authorities, although we will still be the lowest in GM. For over a decade, Trafford's basic allowances have barely increased, and whilst there are some reasons for this, it has meant that we are now some considerable distance from GM councils. And I know that councillors in Trafford do carry out this role. We all carry out this role to serve the people of the borough. And so it is important that our allowances do enable us to do that effectively. I also think it is important that the council itself does reflect the diversity of the people that it represents, and that it doesn't become only for people who are financially able to do so. So I'm happy to second this proposal. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does any members wish to speak on this report? Just one. Councillor Jerome. No. So we've got 2 speakers, is that correct? And sorry, okay, right. Right. Can I ask Councillor Jerome, please, to speak?
Thanks,
Councillor
Chair.
Jerome, thank you.
First of all, we would like to thank the panel for producing this report, an independent panel made up of appointees with a range of skills and experience from outside of this council. Equalities and the implications are at the heart of this proposal. In the report, it says it encourages persons from all sections of the community to become and remain councillors, something we fully support. It is important to remember how this report was arrived at, from members' views, by consulting the relevant council officers, by comparison with the other 10 GM councils, but also with the broader financial picture in mind. This report and the Green Party understand the current cost of living crisis and the tough choices people are facing. However, this also reminds us that we need good politicians and voices from all walks of life. We must also remember the very low base of the Trafford allowance. This report recognises that the Trafford allowance is far lower than other GM councils. It recognises this scheme hasn't been reviewed for 20 years, and the roles and demands of this role have changed too. In fact, they've grown. The basic allowance will rise to just over 10,000, which brings us nearer to our GM equivalents, but still considerably behind most of them. The report also mentions the voluntary discount. That means 35% of a councillor's time, nearly 46 days a year, are still unpaid and voluntary. We did find that we had some questions or some negatives about the report. The leaders of the minority opposition groups will only receive a special remuneration allowance if the group is at least 4 members, rather than the current 2. We would question that, but also understand that this is an independent review. Paragraph 153 on the report sets out the arguments for this, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence or reasoning given here. From our experience, the work in establishing a small party is immense, and when COVID struck, all group leaders were pulled together behind the leadership to help steer this council in weekly meetings. Maybe this is something the review could consider in 4 years' time. But the conclusion from us, from the Green Party, I think overall, is we fully support this report. We recognise there are some things we don't entirely agree with. However, as a small party, we know it is challenging to encourage and enable diversity. Many look at politics and don't see themselves and think it is not for them. Remuneration is just one barrier, but an important one. This is a step in the right direction. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, we must thank the independent panel for their time on this matter. It can't be easy, and they've arrived at a report. However, the Conservative councillors are questioning the timing of this report from the Labour-run administration, choosing to wait until after the local elections to propose what is a huge increase in council allowances. One wonders if Labour felt it wouldn't go down too well on the doorsteps. Did they feel a 40% hike in councillor allowances wasn't a vote winner with the residents of Trafford? Conservatives think Labour's timing says it all. It's ironic that Labour campaigned in the local elections on their concern for the cost of living crisis, and our former leader secured a debate in Parliament this week on the same topic. Yet the very first thing this Labour administration does, to repeat a phrase used before, is trouser a little bit more cash. Although my group acknowledges that the councillors' allowances have not increased for years, the Conservatives are not in the role for the money. However, an important item does come out of this report, and that we do welcome it is recognised by the independent body, that Trafford holds its meetings in the evenings, enabling councillors to be able to work full-time. We therefore ask that this is recognised in all our suggested meeting times by the council officers and Labour moving forward. We have many new councillors, all of whom work, all who will appreciate not being pressured into daytime meetings. A councillor's basic allowance rise of 40% is a matter for Labour's conscience, and one, given the timing and the contrived way this seems to have arrived at the AGM, we won't be supporting this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Frowes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Our understanding was that this report has been commissioned to provide an independent view of how remuneration stacks up against the other local authorities in the region. It's very easy for those of us comfortably off to say that we're not here for the money. But that attitude completely ignores the fact that many in our borough cannot afford to be democratically elected local representatives for their communities. From a progressive viewpoint, those who are lucky enough to get to the front ought to use that privilege and that advantage to help those behind them. Bringing the basic allowance closer to the Greater Manchester average, as we've heard alluded to tonight, will, I hope, enable a greater, more diverse range of people to represent their area in this chamber. However, I am struggling to understand the rationale that's already been alluded to my colleagues in the Green Party behind point 153 on page 142 in the report, agenda pack. The size of all of our groups goes up and down, as is right in a democracy. It just so happens that during the COVID pandemic, my group comprised 3 councillors. This is below the new threshold of 4 proposed in the report, meaning that our leader would receive no remuneration at all to allow them to take on the additional responsibilities, such as, you might hear, during COVID, all the opposition group leaders were heavily involved in the council's decision-making processes and used their positions to make the case that they thought were important to the voters that elected them. Our group leader was there time after time, making the case for things which had a real and tangible impact to help stop that wretched virus back in 2020, pushing for, amongst other things, COVID testing before discharge from hospital into care homes. He was making the case for getting a vaccine centre in the Larkhill Centre because we didn't have one. And the idea that our group, to quote the report, would not have the same pressure to provide primary challenge as a group of 3 as opposed to 4 or 6 is wrong. So there's no justification given in the report for this change, that Trafford should suddenly require 4 rather than 2, other than let us double 2. So the Lib Dems therefore would be looking to see if that could be amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I, Councillor Thomas, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Can I congratulate you as a ward colleague on your ascension to the Mayor tonight? Just briefly to say that I took part in this review. I was interviewed by the very independent board and answered honestly. What has come back is what they recommend. We've taken, or I certainly will be taking up their recommendation because I think it's fair. I think it opens up opportunities for others that are on low income, perhaps not people that can squirrel away into leafy suburbs to get re-elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Would Councillor Ross like to respond?
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just first thank Councillor Jerome and also the Councillor Frass and the Liberal Democrat groups for their comments this evening. Absolutely, your feedback is very valid. I think, as I've said to you in separate correspondence, it was our position as a group that we accept the independent recommendations that have been made by the panel. But of course, as Councillor Jerome has noted, there will be future panels and there'll be a future time where we can review the scheme again. And I think it's important that we start to observe what the independent recommendations are, because it is done by people who take a lot of evidence in, review it, benchmark us against other boroughs, and ensure that we try and make this borough as diverse as possible in terms of the representation that we have on Trafford Council. And that is very much something that I want to see. In terms of Councillor Evans, firstly, welcome back, Councillor Evans. I see you've not changed much since you lost your election last year. In all seriousness, though, I think to come back to this chamber and cast aspersions about my integrity and my group integrity is out of order, and a really big mistake to make so early on in your return to this council. I can say that I did not receive the report until the 10th of May this month. The evening of the 10th of May, I got a draft report. We then didn't get the final report until it was published for all of us to see via the publication of the paper. So I hope you retract that insinuation that I have been sat on this for weeks, because frankly I haven't. And you should also have had some form of handover with your predecessor and other people that took part in the panel, because they would have told you the feedback they would have given. They would have told you the feedback from the panel itself. So you would have been under no surprises as you went into the campaign as to what the discussions had been as part of that panel process. So I hope you reflect on the insinuations that you've cast our way, because do you know what? I am proud to represent this borough, and I just want us to bring us back into line with the rest of Greater Manchester. When I first started as a councillor in 2008, the basic allowance was £6,121. If that had gone up in real terms over the last 15 years, it would now be £10,503. What is proposed in this report is £10,076. So we're still not up to that area if we'd followed real terms over the course of the 15 years. So I'm very grateful to the other contributions that have been made by constructive people within the chamber. And I hope, Councillor Evans, that you reflect on what you've said and genuinely believe that we're all here for the best interest of the borough. We want to make sure that we safeguard the future of this borough and make sure that we have strong politicians coming into this council in the future. And by observing the independent remuneration panel's findings, we're a step further that way. Thank you.
Thank you. The report has been moved and seconded. Can it be agreed, please? Advised that we need to put it to the vote. Can those people, yeah, please, all those in favour, can you raise your hands, please? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The report has been agreed. The motion has been carried. That brings us to the end of the meeting. Can I thank you for your attendance this evening and invite the Deputy Mayor, the Chief Executive, the Monitoring Officer to join me in the Mayor's Parlour for photographs. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all at the reception afterwards. Thank you.